gosh.
Oh, hamstring. Up. Sniper, take the other picture.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you can formulate opinions without having true facts.
I'm telling you, think about it logically for just a second.
Dear Reds fans, welcome back to the Zebra Zillionaires. It was a tough one yesterday.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and a pleasant good Wednesday morning to each and every one of you. We welcome you to Off the Bench, presented by our friends at United Dairy Farmers. Gentlemen, good morning. Casey?
Good morning, Tom.
Rough morning for you today.
Rough morning?
You've been kicked around a little bit.
You just didn't like my opinion. You didn't like you gave me a hypothetical and I didn't like it.
I'm going to tell everybody what that was a little bit later on in the show.
Are you bashing other people's opinions, Tom?
Not at all.
Are you cancel culture?
I am cancel culture. How are we doing today, boys?
Doing beautiful.
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
What a beautiful day.
Yeah. You know,
It's a beautiful fall morning.
is it normally 19 in the fall?
Yeah.
This is fall.
This is fall.
beautiful.
You get a little campfire later, and then you go back inside because it's too cold.
Do you put a campfire up in that attic where you live?
Yeah, that's right.
That's a
I
good
do.
place for one, yeah.
Yeah, it's good ventilation up there.
Very, very, very good. We come your way Monday through 12
p.m.
That away. Little passion today for a change. You can find us on YouTube, the Chatterbox Sports page. We also broadcast live on Twitter. That's at C-Box Sports. C-Box Sports. Or you can download us in podcast form. Just search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman, and you're dialed in. Bengals back on the practice field today, an extra day this week to get ready for Monday night's clash with Jacksonville. Away from the field for the fourth consecutive year, former Bengal All-Pro tackle WILLIE Anderson is a semifinalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We sure hope he gets there. And boy, it's a tough crowd. I mean, you got the likes of Dwight Freeney, Antonio Gates, Eddie George, the great Julius Peppers, among others. I mean, it's a star-studded group. Anderson played 13 years in the NFL, is considered to be one of the best tackles of his generation. The college football rankings unveiled last night. Really no surprises in the top four, nor should there be. You have four undefeated teams: Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State. Oregon is number 5. Ohio State loses to number 3 and slides all the way down to 6th, with Texas 7, Alabama 8. Buckeyes need basically the Longhorns and the Seminoles to lose in their conference championship games to have any hope of a return to the national semis. College basketball, the UC Bearcats played in a wild one last night at Howard. You said it looked like they were playing on the ocean.
It was one of the most preposterous broadcasts I've ever seen, Tom. I sat down, and right from the jump, the very first movement of the camera, I was going, what the hell is going on here? I'm trying to do this where everybody can see what happened. Usually a camera goes like this, right?
Pans,
Right.
right. It pans.
It pans. This camera, it went like that.
Ah.
So it was like I don't know what kind of camera does that, but it was like it was going. It was the motion of the ocean.
It was on an arch.
It was like it was on an arch, but then the camera cuts were terrible. The broadcasters, I say this with love and respect, they were atrocious. They kept saying Victor Larkin's name. They kept calling him Victor Lakin Jr. He's not a junior, Tom, and his name's not Lakin. I think Aziz Bondago, they called Aziz Bondiago, and they kept
Well,
making
his
weird.
friends call him that.
They gave him the college try. Tom.
And they work. I mean, they certainly work. They had to have been college students. So if they were college students and that was a college production, I'd give it a C-. If that was supposed to be a professional broadcast, that's an F-.
Well, the bottom line is you're paying for that.
Correct, which is another thing.
That's on ESPN Plus.
That's terrible.
Bro, how much you paying for that?
$10.99
A month?
a month,
And you get all the games.
all the games.
Okay. I may have to look into that. But it was a wild one last night. I mean, it was UC's first road game of the year at Howard, and basically playing in a high school gym, right? But
Yep.
the place was rocking.
It was.
5 Bearcats scored in double figures in an 86-81 overtime win. Now, UC just couldn't find the bottom of the basket from downtown. 3 of 18 from 3, but Wes Miller said, I'm not worried about it. We're a good shooting team, just a bad night. They found a way to get a gritty win on the road. They go to 6-0 on the year. They play a pretty decent Florida Gulf Coast team at Fifth Third Arena this Sunday. I watched them against Indiana this year. That's an NCAA tournament team. They're pretty good.
Pretty good team.
And then, of course, the Crosstown Shootout at Xavier a week from Saturday. How about the Big Blue? Cal! Cal's got it going on. We can't get him on the show. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet,
I sent
Tom.
another email today.
Oh.
Another email. My second one now. Trying to get Cal dialed into off the bench. But man, oh man, Kentucky. Number 8, Miami of Florida, came rolling into Rupp Arena last night, and the Big Blue blew them out of the gym, 95-73. Kentucky outscores the Hurricanes 53-36 in the second half. The 12th-ranked Cats go to 6-1 on the year. Liam Hendricks of the White Sox, Cody Bellinger of the Cubs named comeback players of the year in MLB last night. Hendricks returned from a battle with cancer, while Bellinger delivered a monster season on a one-year deal with the Cubbies. Both players are free agents this winter. And are the Reds on the brink of a deal for Cleveland ace Shane Bieber? Lots of rumors floating around out there, and a few about Tyler Glassnow. Now, Bieber would be a free agent at the end of the 24 season, and it's worth noting he did battle through some forearm and elbow issues last year. Coming up in a matter of seconds, we'll talk baseball and really anything else he chooses with the Hall of Famer, my dad, Marty Brennaman, and later Tommy G, the outstanding voice of FC Cincinnati, will join us to talk about the team's Eastern Conference Final. It's coming up this weekend at TQL Stadium against the dreaded Hell is Real Columbus Crew.
It's big time. You going, Tom?
Am I going?
Yeah, are you going?
No, I'm not going.
Why not?
Because I'm not. I'm just not.
As a former soccer player and a lover of Cincinnati sports,
Yes.
they're playing in the conference championship.
Yes.
And you're not going to go.
I am not going. I may flip it on the 2. Do I have to pay for that?
Okay,
I think you do.
I
that
think
one
you do.
surely's got to be on national television, right?
I think it is on national TV.
I'll
no
double check,
way
but
that game's
I don't
on
think
national TV.
FS1?
You're telling me that people aren't going to – you're telling me Columbus Crew versus FC Cincinnati doesn't put butts in couches, Tom? Flipping it right on?
I don't know if they do or not. I mean, I think there's a lot of soccer fans out there. But look, I have Apple TV, so if it's on Apple TV where you don't have to spend money in addition to Apple TV, then I'll watch some of it. If they don't, I miss out. I'll learn about it the next day.
It's on Apple TV.
Would you rather watch Alabama, Georgia, or FC versus Columbus Crew? Because that's who they're going up against.
You know what? I'd actually flip back and forth. I mean, the Alabama-Georgia game doesn't mean anything to me. It's a good game. Really good game, but it doesn't mean anything to me. The question is, will Marty Brennaman be dialed in to FC Cincinnati? Eastern Conference title game at TQL 6P this Saturday night. Are you outside? You chopping wood, or what are you doing?
No, I'm not chopping wood. I got a vest on. What the hell's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, not many people sit around with a vest on and a sweater inside. I didn't know if you were out. You know, we talked about your travels on the sea, the open sea. But when you get back home, you like to get out back and cut your own wood sometimes. And so I thought maybe you were out there.
That is incorrect. I do not chop wood. I don't do that. There are people that do that. I'm not one of them.
Okay. Will you
It's
be
getting
watching?
off to a bad start now.
It is a really bad start. FC Cincinnati, will you be watching that game Saturday?
That would be a most definite no. You know, I'm thrilled that sport has taken hold professionally in this town, just to improve the level of sports in general in this great city that we live in. You know, football team, baseball team, hockey team, FC Cincinnati soccer team. You know, I'm not a soccer fan, and I don't say that apologetically. Just like I have people who, you know, wherever I'm at, there will be inevitably somebody will come up and with another person, and the one other person knows who I am. The other person apologetically will say, "I'm sorry, I don't know who you are," or "I'm not a baseball fan."
Right.
I don't care. It doesn't make any difference to me. I'm talking to these people. They're polite. I'm polite to them. And just because they're not a baseball fan doesn't make them a bad person. Just because I'm not a soccer fan doesn't make me a bad person.
That's right. I think that is a great point. Casey, you have any reaction to that? Because you tend to look down your nose at those that don't follow FC Cincinnati.
That is true.
I think that's a fair point.
You look down your nose because
He
people
does.
don't follow
He does.
FC Cincinnati? Huh?
He does. Yes, he does.
Casey, I think less of you after that statement, man. I mean, I put you in the same class with the Big E.
I'd like to think I'm very inclusive. I try to invite people to watch, try to get them just as excited as I am, but I don't try to exclude. I don't try to look down on people.
It's very difficult for me to follow a sport, and believe me, I did my due diligence watching my kids play, watching one of my grandkids play, and I'm not a big fan of sports where you know that on the best day, the two teams may combine to score 6 goals or 7 goals. I'm not a big fan of that. If I go to a ball game, I want to see scoring. I've never been a soccer fan based on, going to see my kids play, watching some World Cup games, obviously because of the immensity of this sport in the world picture. Just like I watched the U.S. Olympic team play in hockey because I find it very, very exciting and there's a lot on the line. But that's where I draw the line. I don't, I'm a big baseball, football, basketball fan.
Okay.
And a golf fan. And a golf fan.
And a lacrosse fan.
Yeah. And a lacrosse fan. I watch, because of Luke's involvement at Marymount, I watch it on television. I watch colleges play. I'm a big fan of that game, and I think it's a sport that will continue to grow in popularity in this country.
Well, I don't know. You got a lot of snowflakes out there. It takes a real man to play that game. I'm not so sure where that's going down the road. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let me ask you this.
Right. Okay.
Let's get to baseball for a minute.
Yes.
Okay, now a lot of rumors out there. Well, you know what? Let me back up. I want to ask you, if you're a Reds fan, and virtually everybody watching this show and affiliated with the show, you're a Reds fan. I'm a Reds fan. This room is a Reds fan. Okay. Should a Reds fan, the regular Reds fan, be alarmed, be upset, be nervous that, the Cubs go out and get Craig Counsell, the Cardinals go out and they signed 3 starting pitchers, which they said they were going to do before free agency ever started. They didn't say who, but they said we're going to address it and get 3 of them, and now they got 3 in a stable. Whether you like those guys or not, it's irrelevant. But as a Reds fan, having not done anything yet, does that concern you? Should it alarm you?
Yes and no. Yes, because the longer they wait, the less likely they are, or not less likely, but the odds start to gradually creep up that somebody else is going to sign one or more of the guys that they are looking at or trading for, whatever the case might be. I give Cardinals a lot of credit, but then again, that's been their MO over the years. They went out and they signed 3 guys in the bat of an eye. I mean, they wasted no time. They'd done their due diligence in terms of listening to reports on the 3 pitchers that they've signed. Obviously, they got good reports back because they wasted no time in going out and getting them, and I don't believe that the Cardinals are done yet. And then, I understand that Nick is playing it somewhat cautiously. All of a sudden, Glasnow and Bieber's name have cropped up into the public's consciousness. So I think there's probably some truth to the fact that the Reds are talking to the Rays relative to Glassnow and the Indians as far as Bieber is concerned about a possible deal. The winter meetings are coming up, I guess, in a week or so.
Yep.
After RedsFest this weekend. I think it starts probably next week. And things happen there. But I don't think you can wait a whole lot past RedsFest and certainly have a realistic expectation that you're going to be the guy that gets the pitcher or pitchers that you're interested in.
I want to ask you about these two guys in particular, okay?
Yeah.
Now, both would come here in the final year of a contract. Bieber
Correct.
makes right around 20. Glasnow, I almost fell out of my chair.
Bieber makes 10. Glasnow makes 20.
25. 25.
Sorry, 25.
Glasnow.
But economically speaking, Bieber is the best choice of the two.
Well, and he's not only the best choice, for a lot of reasons, and this is what I was going to get into here. Tyler Glasnow, for everybody get excited about Tyler Glasnow. Okay, we saw him originally come up with the Pirates. He was a 5th-round pick back in 16, I think it was, or 15. Okay, you look at this guy's numbers. He has not been a starting pitcher to start more than 14 games in a season.
Right.
Up until last year. Last year was the highest number of innings he ever pitched in a year, which is 120. And look, Tyler Glasnow might be pretty good, but with a guy whose maximum number of innings is 120 innings, that means you're trading for a guy to make $25 million, and he's going to be on an inning limit for your team next year. You're not going to have this guy throw 200 innings. Basically, they go about 15% more is kind of the rule of thumb. Now, maybe they'll run him out there a little further if they don't have him to a long-term deal and just say, hey, we'll see what we can get. Go pitch. I mean, I got to tell you, Glasnow might be better than
unless they know something, the Reds, know something that we don't know. The mere fact that they are talking to Tampa Bay about Tyler Glasnow is lunacy as far as I'm concerned, for all the reasons that you just stated. And Shane Bieber's had a little bit of an injury situation.
Well,
not great.
Last year he did, but in fairness to Bieber now, I mean, when we've played full seasons in Major League Baseball in 2019, he throws 214 innings. The next year we had COVID, same with the next year. 22, he pitches over 200 innings. Now, last year he did have some forearm and injury issues, but he is a far superior pitcher to Tyler Glasnow with far more of a track record.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I've said all along that as far as I'm concerned, and I'm a fan now. I'm not involved like I was forever. I would be looking for a veteran pitcher with a good track record who has the ability to be an influence, positive influence, with a very young starting rotation that he would be joining. But having said that, you've got to have a guy that can go out and pitch.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I mean, if you are going to sink $25 million in Tyler Glasnow's last year, and in the process, you're going to give up some talent because, I don't know how much talent you have to give up, but you're going to get rid of some people in order to make that deal for 1 year. And then you gotta be concerned going into spring training and maybe going into the season about how many innings he can pitch when he goes out on a start-by-start basis. That makes absolutely zero sense. That makes no sense. I hope that there's not a whole lot of truth in the rumors that Glasnow is being seriously considered by this franchise, unless, again, as I underline it, they know something that we don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. Shane Bieber, I would welcome him, and I would think he'd be a great addition, assuming he's healthy, to this rotation, and he'll be surrounded by familiar names to us, the Hunter Greens, the Nick Lodolos, et cetera, Graham Ashcraft, all these guys. And I think he would be an anchor in a rotation that would be rather formidable if all those guys could stay healthy over the course of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he's 60-32 in his career. 60-32 with a 3.2 ERA. I mean, now you're talking. Right, Reed Mouse?
No.
I mean, Reed, you got to, he's a Cub guy, Dad. So we have to run everything through him to get his expert opinion on it first.
Yeah.
All right. Before we go any further, you guys have anything on baseball you'd like to ask Marty Brennaman? Because I have a few other topics of college basketball and such. Go ahead. Elliot, please.
I had no baseball questions per se. I did have an Ohio State question. May I ask that?
Ohio State?
Sure.
Yeah, the football team. The Ohio State football. Marty,
Yeah.
I predicted that it would be 42-0. I was a little off on that, but I was right on the outcome. When you guys watched that on Saturday, what were the emotions in the room? I want to know what Thom was thinking.
I wasn't with him watching the game.
Why aren't you guys watching it together?
Because I had another engagement I had to
Oh
go
my
to.
God. Oh my God. I thought this was a family thing. All right, well, that's fine. I'll still ask my question. Do you think Ryan Day will be on the hot seat, Marty?
I think if Ryan Day's on the hot seat, I don't give a damn if they ever win another football game again.
Oh.
I've dealt with these idiots on Twitter that want to run his ass off. He's 56-7, for God's sake. Granted, 3 of the 7 losses have been to Michigan. They'd rather beat Michigan than win a national championship, which I think is totally insane. I mean,
agree.
I understand when they ran Cooper off years ago, and I think he lost something like 7 of 9 games, whatever the case might be, to Michigan. That's a prime example right there. But I guarantee you he did not have a 56-7 record when they gave him his walk-in papers. If they run Ryan Day off only because he's lost 3 straight to Michigan, I hope hell freezes over before Ohio State wins another football game. Does that answer your question?
That does, and I agree with it.
It's not happening. It's not happening. I mean, this is kind of like us talking about the Bengals doing something at the trade deadline, right?
Right.
I mean, it ain't happening. So
Yeah.
why we even bring it up? Reed.
Well, maybe they should fire him and hire Lou Holtz. Maybe that would work.
Yeah, that'd work.
Hey,
Bring back Urban.
Marty, I'm apologizing. Last week I was out of town, so I don't know if they asked you this last week, but the Hall of Fame.
You
came
weren't
out
missed, but go ahead. Huh?
The Hall of Fame ballot came out last week, and
Yeah.
as you are a Hall of Famer, I have a curious case that I wanted to ask you about. Growing up, one of my favorite players was Joe Mauer. It's his first year on the ballot. Do you think a guy like Joe Mauer should be in the Hall of Fame?
I didn't pick him as one of my 10. You know, I saw these people put the ballots on and say who you pick. You could pick up to 10, and I picked 8. And he was not one of them as far as the first time on the ballot. He was not one of them.
Okay, fair enough.
Next
Fair
question, Elliot.
Enough. All right.
I have another one. I'll go back to baseball. I did a read on this one. I think Yadier Molina should be in the Hall of Fame when that time comes. Do you think Yadier Molina is a Hall of Famer?
Slam dunk.
Yep.
I agree.
Slam dunk. Not even open
Reed
to
disagreed with
discussion.
me. I agree.
That's fine. You know what they say about opinions, don't you?
Everybody's got one.
You sure? A lot of them wear it on their shoulders too.
That's right.
Are we allowed?
I think Yadier Molina is definitely on. Now, whether or not he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, I don't know about that. But I think eventually he'll be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yes.
Are we? Is it out of line to ask you who the 8 guys are that you did vote for?
Yeah, now I'm trying to remember them now. If Elliot has the ballot, I could tell you when you went down it. I remember some of them. I voted for Todd Helton. I voted for Gary Sheffield. I voted for the relief pitcher Billy
Wagner. Billy Wagner.
Yeah, well, voted for Billy Wagner. Who else did I vote? Oh, the slam dunk. Adrian Beltre is the first ballot Hall of Fame.
No doubt about that.
He's he'll go in. And I forget off the top of my head who the other ones were. It's an interesting ballot. It really was. It's the kind of thing where if you got it, you're going to pick 10, up to 10. You don't have to pick 10, but that's the maximum. And you really have to study it a little bit. I found it very, very interesting. I really did.
Trying to think of some of the other guys here that were on that list that what we talked.
I've got it in front of me.
Yeah.
If you voted for Gary Sheffield, did you vote for guys like Manny Ramirez, Alex Rodriguez, Andy Pinnett that were also linked to steroids?
I voted for Rodriguez.
Okay.
I voted for Manny Ramirez. I mean, you got to give it up now. You know, I've reached a point now where it's inevitable that these guys one day, and when I use these guys, I'm talking a generalization because maybe those guys don't get in, but guys that were accused of using performance-enhancing drugs, it's going to happen. down the road, I think probably, and I would hope that when it does, there will be an asterisk by their name with some little small print down at the bottom of their plaque that included the fact that they were involved in nefarious type of things to get them ready to play baseball. Who else you got?
What about a guy like Andrew Jones? That's a curious case. One of the best defensive.
I was a tough one right there. I was a very hard. I don't know. I don't think I did, but that was a hard. You had to pause when you saw his name. Yeah.
Switch hitting Carlos Beltran?
No.
Okay. I think that's
okay. That's about it. That's about it.
You
know, I'm kind of surprised to hear you say. I mean, I don't know if this is like breaking news or anything. I don't want to overplay it that way. But I don't know if I've ever heard you say, even in private conversation, that you were on board to vote for some of these guys in that steroid era.
Well, I mean, let's face it. I mean, I was not a big fan of putting the DH in the National League either. But I realized that sooner or later it was inevitable. It was going to happen. And so I think when you think about these guys, you have to consider the fact that they are going to get in because of the influx of young talent that in the Baseball Writers Association that are absolutely consumed and eaten up by analytics and address these guys with minimal concern over what they did, albeit cheating. So I think that whether you want them in or not, they're going to get in eventually, and there's not a heck of a lot that you can do about it.
So you'd be okay now, if I hear you right, just based on that logic, if I'm connecting the dots, you'd be okay with Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sosa, all those guys now.
I'm not okay with it, but I realize it's going to happen. I don't think there's any question about the fact that, and it'll take some time probably, that it is going to happen down the road sooner or later. So, I mean, and I don't have anything to do with it. And if I'm asked about it, I'll say, no, I'm not happy about it. But I understand that there was a certain level of inevitability that predicted that these guys one day will be in baseball's Hall of Fame, and you got to suck it up and live with it.
Okay. All right. RedsFest is this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. What are your duties, if any, at RedsFest now as a retired broadcaster?
Well, I have to. I'm going to be on the stage on Friday night. They're going to have a birthday celebration for George Foster, which I think is great.
Yeah.
I'll be doing a brief interview with George for the edification of those people sitting in the audience. I'm going to visit with sponsors. I'm going to visit with the great people that represent the Dragonfly outfit. I'm going to be a part of the Hall of Fame booth that Rick Walls and his people have, and then do the introductions of those playing poker at the end of RedsFest on late Saturday afternoon. So essentially, that's basically what I'm going to be involved in.
So, I mean, when you're sitting there in the autograph line or the picture-taking line, people are waiting in line to take a picture with you or get an autograph. Mm-hmm. Do you have a lot of sort of the Elliots of the world that come through there and they might ask for special things or ask, kind of off-the-wall things? Is that a regular sort of thing or just every now and again?
It's every now and then. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. I mean, I sometimes act rather condescendingly toward Elliott, but I take him with a grain of salt. I understand where he's coming from. And sometimes I inwardly cast pity on him, but I mean, I understand that he is what he is. And so it makes my life easier, and I'm sure that it makes his life easier and those like him, because if they ask for something off the wall, I would say, yes, I'll be happy to write that, or I don't do that. So it's pretty much open and shut. Yeah.
Okay.
Dealing with the people that I've dealt with over the course of my career has pretty much stood me in good stead with dealing with anybody. And certainly Elliott's ilk, I've crossed that path many times.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's been suggested here. Casey, I want to give you a chance. Do you have anything for Marty today before we wrap this up? Nothing at all?
I thought you wanted to talk about college basketball.
Well, I do want to ask you. I'm saying about this whole baseball kind of thing and RedsFest.
Oh, yeah, right.
Kind of thing.
Right,
Hey,
right.
I mean, how about our guy Cal?
I'll tell you one thing. I watched him last night, and, it was a close first half.
Yep.
Second half, it was circle the wagons from the inbounds pass that started the final 20 minutes of play. I told Amanda sitting there, I said, they are very, very good, and they are deep, and they still have not played the big guys that they've got. 7'1" kid who has a lot of talent, they say. They still haven't gotten into a game pending, a decision by the stupid organizations of all stupid organizations, the NCAA. They got a chance to really be exceptional as the season goes along. And it's nice to know that a Kentucky kid is just about as good as it gets when he's on the floor, and that's Reed Sheppard. He is really a nice player. His daddy and mom have to be awfully proud of him. Jeff was a great player when he was at Kentucky, and Reed Sheppard really is a good player, and it's fun to watch him play.
Did you see any of the UC game last night?
I did not. Thank God, based on what Elliott said about the camera.
It was horrible, Marty.
I would. I'd have a hard time watching that. Obviously, you didn't, and God bless you for that. And I'm thrilled to death that Wes is 6-0. Granted, he's not played the greatest schedule in the world to win 6 games in a row to begin the season. That's to come, but you'd rather. I don't care who you're playing. You'd rather be 6-0 than 3-3 after 6 games. And I think his team is a team that's got a chance of doing nothing but getting better as the season wears on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be interested in watching UC. And Xavier, they lost a tough game the other night. They bounced back. I think any team under Sean Miller is going to be fine, and I don't think this team's any exception. And Northern Kentucky, with the program that Darren Horn has built over there, I think they're going to have a decent season. So I think it's going to be a good year for college basketball in the city of Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky.
Okay, well, see, now here you just fired something into my mind, and I got to get your opinion on this before I let you go. You just mentioned Wes Miller, Sean Miller, Darren Horn, Marty Brennaman, okay, Anthony Munoz. You know where I'm going with this now, right? That big-time commercial you guys are doing these days, right? Where everybody's sitting around a big table, kumbaya. They're great spots. Now,
we had a good time. Yeah.
Go ahead. I want to hear the good stuff first.
No, we had a great time. The one I was involved. Anthony was involved in the second one they did.
Oh, okay. You were with Barry Larkin. That's right.
I was with Barry and the 3 coaches and the ladies. We had a great time shooting that commercial, and we had a incredibly professional production crew, and it came out very well. And I think the Alta Fiber people are very pleased with it. It's gotten a lot of conversation in town, and we had a great time doing it, and look forward to working with them again in the future.
Well, more importantly, I was going down the road. Do you know? And I mentioned Munoz. Yeah. We're just going to have him in this conversation just for the sake of, I want you to pick one of these names that doesn't fit, okay? 5 people, 4 of them have all done one thing, 1 of them has not. I'll leave that alone. So, Marty Brennaman, Anthony Munoz, 2 Hall of Famers, I might add, right? Mm-hmm. Wes Miller, Sean Miller, Darren Horn. Which one does not fit in that group?
I don't know. Me?
Nope.
Wait a minute. Marty Brennaman, Anthony Munoz.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Marty Brennaman, Anthony Munoz. Okay. Wes Miller, Sean Miller, Darren Horn. 4 of those 5 have one thing in common. Maybe more than one, but one we know for sure. And one doesn't fit in that quintet. Do you know who that might be?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Sean Miller is the only one of that quintet that has not been a guest on Off the Bench.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Why not?
That's a good. You know what?
That's the question.
That's the billion-dollar question that we ask on this show. Certainly this time of year we ask about 3 times a week.
What kind of excuses do you get? And I underline that word excuses heavily.
Well, I mean, apparently didn't know how to work the link that we send out on the email.
He's got enough people surrounding him that can take care of that.
Apparently not. So we're gonna leave the invitation open. We don't want to burn any bridges around here.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
No, he was. Well,
Or do you think I burned them already?
No, well, you might have burned him already, if I'm going to be honest. But here's the good news. He was too focused on Oakland. He was too busy on beating Oakland.
This was last year.
Yeah, but he didn't come on last week. He was too busy focused on Oakland basketball. Obviously, it didn't work out for him, but I wish him the best. Marty, do you think you and I will ever be in a commercial one day together?
Well, I would certainly look forward to it. Probably not, because you probably have a tough time delivering your lines convincingly.
I think I could deliver him great.
What do you think about Elliot as a guest
Marty,
appearance? A guest appearance with you and Amanda.
One chance
in a
with Laura's
lean
One
spot.
chance.
How does that sound?
That would work for me.
Give me
I'd love to spend. Huh?
I just want one chance at a Laura's Lean commercial, Marty. That's all I want. I want one chance at a Laura's Lean, and I'll blow your socks off.
Well, it'll be a while, because we did a bunch of them last year earlier this year. But down the road, I would certainly think and figure out something that you could do, and that might be tough. But maybe I could be a background character. Maybe I'm like, shining your shoes or something like that. Something where I'm just in the background. Maybe I could shine your shoes. Something like that would be very comfortable for you.
Yeah, something that comes
shining
natural.
my shoes.
But there would be one line. Yeah. There would be one line that would be a must to tag at the end of the Laura's Lean commercial.
Here we go.
Do you know what that line is?
No.
You would take a bite of Laura's Lean and you would say, "This hungry dog just ran a little bit faster." That's what you'd say, Marty.
No, certainly not. That wouldn't make sense. I would take a bite of a Laura's Lean cheeseburger and say, "This hungry dog ain't as hungry as he was when he was running faster."
I think it would be great television. I think it would be great.
I think it would be great TV. Absolutely right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Enough nonsense. Dad, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Tom, it's always a little slice of heaven for me to be on with you and Reed and Casey and Elliot. It's just it may end up being the highlight of my day, and it's not even 11 o'clock yet.
Well, then it's off to a good start.
It certainly is.
All right. We are grateful for the time. Thank you. Love you. Talk to you later.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Right.
Have a good day, guys.
You too, Marty.
All right. I mean, I could see that coming from him. He didn't see that coming.
No, he didn't.
You picked it up. I was ready for him to deliver the line.
I was seeing what you were doing over there. I was watching your eyes, and I knew where you were going. I knew exactly where you were going. We got him.
All right. Nice to have him on here. That old Glassnow, though, Bieber thing. When I was doing some research on this last night, a little bit more this morning, I tell you, and look, I respect Nick Kirby as much as anybody. This guy knows everything going on with baseball and players inside and out. And quite honestly, I would acknowledge and have no problem acknowledging that this guy's forgotten more about most of these guys than I'll ever know. And I have no problem admitting that. Being out of the sport for the last 3 years, I'm not diving into this. But when I just sit down, okay, and it's funny because when you sit down and you look at numbers, a lot of the analytics crowd wants to use a lot of numbers. And look, I'm not suggesting that Nick is all in on all analytics. It's not where I'm going here. But what I'm saying here to illustrate is that, it always seems like it's one more thing to justify, right? So Nick jumped in here today and said, well, the velocity was down for Bieber. Okay? But it was never better for Glassnow. Okay. I have no doubt that that's true. He knows that that's true, okay? But if that's going to be, and I'm sure Nick could come up with a lot more. I'm not suggesting this is all he has. But if that's the only bullet you have in your gun to argue to sign Tyler Glassnow, trade for him, give up players to get a $25 million pitcher who is going to be in your rotation next season, $25 million. Glasnow will be making the same amount of money Joey Votto made last year. And you're going to bring in a starting pitcher that is going to be on an innings count. They already have an entire staff full of guys on an innings count. Green is going to be on an innings count. Ton of time on the DL this year. Lodolo is going to be on a very carefully watched innings count. Andrew Abbott went through that this year already. He will be on another innings count. Brandon Williamson will be on an innings count. Connor Phillips will be on an innings count. And now you're going to trade for a guy, pay him $25 million on an innings count because his velocity is up? No freaking way. 25 mil. Bieber for 10? Hey, look, for 10 million, just think of it this way for a second. The Cardinals signed Lance Lynn to a $10 million one-year contract. Mm-hmm. Shane Bieber stuff falling out of bed is off the charts better than Lance Lynn stuff.
No doubt.
Okay? Yeah, Lynn's been around a lot longer. He has a longer track record. But Bieber, this year was the first time he really faced some issues. He didn't need Tommy John. They checked it all out. He missed a bunch of starts, forearm, elbow, and that's normally not a good sign. But 1 year, $10 million, right?
Yep.
Winner, gamer, right? Takes the ball, lays it out there, has been a starter his entire career as opposed to Glassnow, who's been primarily an infrequently used and available starting pitcher. He's never made more than 14 starts in a season until this year. And he made 21 and pitched 120 innings in 21 starts. There is no way I am giving up players and paying that guy $25 million.
As someone who doesn't have stake in this game, couldn't you argue the fact that Tyler Glasnow got stronger last year while Shane Bieber got weaker?
You could.
One's going down, one's going up. You can make that argument. And at the end of the day, Tom, and I think Kirby put this in the chat, is either way, if one of those guys come to the Cincinnati Reds, the starting rotation is better than it was before they got there. So that you got to keep that in mind. Is you can argue about this guy or this guy. Either way, the team is getting better if you pull one of them in. But yeah, devil's advocate in me would say, well, one guy had his best year of his career last year in Tyler Glasnow, where he threw the most innings, had the most strikeouts. You saw the most starts of his career. And then the other guy probably got banged up, was banged up a little bit. His velocity's down and had one of the worst years of his career. So uphill, downhill trajectory.
As a fan who wants and begs the Reds to spend money, who begs the Reds to go out and get people, I can't have it both ways. I can't be mad at them for trying to get better, paying a guy $20 million. I'm not going to do it. Despite the innings limit, he certainly makes this team better. 100%. Just like Reed just said, just like Kirby said, he makes the team undoubtedly better.
Yes.
I get your point. But at the end of the day, if the Reds are going to go out and spend money to get a very good starting pitcher, because that's what Glassnow is, he's very good. If they go out and pay him $25 million, I'm not going to sit here and be mad. Because everybody this whole past offseason was mad that they didn't spend any money, right? So I don't get to have it both ways. My thing is you got to be smart with this. If you want to go out and get both, let's get both. We don't have to limit ourselves to one person here. We have right now our payroll is nothing. We are paying nobody anything right now as of this moment. We can go out and make a couple of these trades. We can go out and make a couple of these moves. I'm not going to worry about what we're paying people. You have to start paying people. Joey Votto's contract was $25 million, $20 million. That's a standard contract in the MLB for a player. It's standard. $20 million is not anything now. It's not. It's a standard MLB contract. People were riding the streets because we paid a guy $20 million for 10 years. It's what you have to do to win games in the MLB. I am not going to fault the Reds if they pay him $25 million. If he gets hurt, now if you go out and get a guy like Jacob deGrom, who you know is going to get hurt every single year after year after year after year, then we can start having that conversation. And maybe Glassnow is that guy. Mm-hmm. But as of right now, as of this second, he's coming off a decent season. I'd like to see him in a Reds uniform.
He's coming off a damn good season.
I'd like to see him in a Reds uniform. I'd like to see him in a Reds uniform. And if it costs $25 million for a risk of an injury, then you still got to do it. Injuries happen in sports.
Nick helped me with this. I think I'm right on this because Nick's in the chat. If I'm not mistaken, before they've hit salary arbitration, they got a handful of guys. Nobody's going to break the bank of the guys that they have in arbitration. They got a handful of them out there. India, a couple others. 3+ player years service. They're gonna right now they're around 40 million. Let's say that jumps up to 55 million. They have been up well over 100 million. Okay, people wanted them to spend more the last couple of years, but they've been up over 100 million last year. Okay, so let's just say it's 55. So, if their payroll last year was 110, 115, I mean, you're looking at $60-something million that this franchise conceivably has to spend. All the rumors out there at the owners' meeting last week, and I don't think they're rumors. I think pretty much they're confirmed, that Bob Castellini has said to Nick Kroll and said to a lot of these agents out there, hey, the bank is open around here. We're willing to spend some money. We think we're getting close. And look, say whatever you want about the Castellini ownership group. Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time when they had a team that needed something and they had to give up something or they had to spend some money, they did spend some money. They gave up 3 number 1 picks to get Matt Latos in 2012. Cueto got hurt that year. Latos was unquestionably their best starting pitcher. Whether you like the dude as a guy or not, it's irrelevant. He was their best starting pitcher, especially down the stretch in September. So, look. And then the one year they go out and they spend a bunch of money. It turned out to be bad deals on the Moustakas of the world, right? And these guys. But they went out and made the deal for Trevor Bauer. He won a Cy Young Award. Okay? There have been years, and maybe this isn't that year. I don't know if realistically there are people that look at this team and they can honestly say this is a playoff championship caliber team. I don't know if they're there. But it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what they think. And if they think that going out and spending $70, $80 million on top of what they're committed to spending now, man, oh man. I mean, the question is, though, are they going to do it?
Would you be in favor of them using that $70, $80 million, whatever it is that they can add to their payroll and getting outside forces, or would you rather them do something like we've seen other teams do in the National League and what they already started to do with Hunter Green and lock up some of their young talent for an extended period of time, not just the 6 years that you're already allocated to have player control?
I am all for locking up guys once they've proven they can do it. And I mean do it production and do it availability. For the life of me, I have no idea why they would have handed Hunter Green that contract last winter. He has not stayed healthy one season since he came to the. Now, he hasn't been around very long. Okay, but every year he's had a chance to pitch for the major league team, he has been on the injured list for extended periods of time. We wondered if he was ever coming back this year. And I'm never going to beat up a guy for being injured. Guys get hurt. I get it. But like Lodolo, you're going to lock up Nick Lodolo? You're going to lock up Andrew Abbott? The only 2 guys that I would even give remote consideration as young players to signing to a long-term deal right now. And I would wait, by the way, until the end of this upcoming season.
Right, just to see.
But the 2 would clearly be Steer and McLean. I'm not giving Ellie De La Cruz a 7-year deal. Go look at what Acuna and Albies were doing their first and second years in the big leagues. They played every day. They didn't hit a $110 in September. Strike out 48% of the time, whatever it was. And Cruz may end up going to be the next Sammy Sosa. I don't know. Okay, and I don't mean that in a PED kind. Sosa was a hell of a player. I mean,
damn right,
he was a hell of a player.
Damn right.
Aided or not, the guy was, and he was there every night at the post. Never hurt.
Hunter Green's getting paid $8 million a year. It's not. I mean, we're not.
That's a fair deal for Hunter Green.
We're not giving this guy $25 million.
No, but here's the point, Elliot. I don't disagree with you in any form or fashion. What I'm telling you is, you could have signed him to that same contract this winter. You could sign him to that same contract next winter. And you say you're only paying him $8 million. You wouldn't have even gone to salary arbitration with Hunter Green this year. you'd be paying him maybe $750,000, $800,000, $1 million, and you gave him $8 million this year.
But then you run the risk of him having a breakout year, and then now you're going to have to pay him $20 million, not $8 million.
Maybe he'd be worth it.
That's the game. That's the gamble that you play when you sign these long-term deals, and you're saying, hey, listen, these guys, once they get to arbitration, if they are all-stars, they're going to be getting this money anyways. I think the Hunter Green deal was a great deal.
And not to mention it was incentive-based as well. If Hunter Green pitches well, he's going to make more money. It's going to be better for the Reds. And we need Hunter Green. If Hunter Green doesn't work out, then maybe none of them work out, and then we have nothing in general. So you have to take a little bit of a risk, like Reed's saying. You have to gamble. It's the game. Play a little bit. $8 million, it's pennies. We're paying him pennies, essentially, to be a guy who we think and who he has shown, at least at times. Tom is right. He's certainly been injured. He has shown in spurts that he could be one of the best pitchers in baseball. He has shown.
Yes.
Now, if he can stay healthy is the big key because, again, all of our pitchers seem to have an injury bug. It's very early in all of their careers. They probably weren't used to the high leverage, high inning count that they are being pushed to play in at a major league level. You saw it with Andrew Abbott. He kind of fell off at the end of the year. I think he had dead arm at the end of the year. I think his arm was he gave out. Mm-hmm. But I think you have to take the gamble because at some point, the Braves have done it with all their players. They get them young, and you hope for the best. And it works. If it doesn't work with Hunter Green, then it might not work with anybody, and then why are we even playing this sport? It's a productive gamble, in my opinion. I have no issues with Hunter Green. Would I give Ellie De La Cruz a $10 million contract after last year? No, I think that's way different. I think that's completely different. I think Hunter Green showed that he proved he was capable of being our number one guy in spurts. I think we're okay with Hunter Green.
Okay.
I agree with Tom. I do agree with Tom about Ellie as of this second, just because of Ellie. I would say Ellie didn't have a very good year. If you look back at it statistically.
He did some spectacular things 100%. That we've never seen before,
100%.
but at the end of the day, they are what they are, the numbers.
Statistically, Ellie was not very good, I would say. I think it's fair to say that. He had some incredible home runs. He showed some spurts defensively, but he had a lot of errors. He struck out a ton. I think his plate discipline went way down. Right-handed side of the plate was abysmal. I wouldn't go out of the way to give Ellie De La Cruz a $15 million contract yet, as of this moment.
All right, I'm going to ask for a timeout here. Right. And Elliot, are you giving us a weather update or no weather update today?
Instead of weather, I was just going to we had some super chats. I was going to read
some
of
those. All right, we'll do that. And then when we come back, we've got Tommy G, right? At 11 o'clock. Or is that 11:10?
11:10.
All right. 11:10. All right. Fellas, take it away right now, please.
Okay.
By all means.
Well, Casey, you go ahead and start doing the ads. You do the ads.
All right. So the Bengals report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. We didn't really do the Bengals. We did the Bearcats report. Bearcats report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with the suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
productivity.
Great job, guys. That was in sync. Perfect. Visit encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. Here it is. Pawnee water.
Yes.
You all know what it is. Made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. Uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water. Some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water. Get your coffee at UDF. Bet on Betfred. And those are our sponsors for the day. Let's read the super chats.
Casey, do me a favor and pull up the store's web browser. After we get through the super chats, let's go through the store and publicize some of that.
Yes.
But go ahead and go through the.
Yeah. So Chad Waits, he said, "Me and Casey cooked Blanny over a campfire." That's tough, Casey.
Nice.
That's tough. Justin Edgel. I'm gonna mess up how I say that last name every time. I think it's Edgel. We're gonna go Edgel. I call you Justin, though. Justin, enjoy the show every day. Thanks, everyone on the show in the chat. Sam Beckman, I believe this is his first super chat. Go Big Blue. Fun Kentucky basketball is back.
I watched that game. Reed Sheppard looked legit. I think there was some questions about whether Reed Sheppard would instantly improve that team, and as a freshman, dropped 21 points against the 8th-ranked Miami Hurricanes. That's a big-time game.
How about that? And Mr. Mo says, Tom, Elliott, Reed, Elliott, Trace, Casey, I love you all. Question.
Loves you twice.
He loves me twice. Thank you very much, Mr. Mo. Question. The first rivalry game for my wife and I, OSU lost. Does this mean I need to get the divorce papers and try again next year?
I think that is grounds for
Divorce. Yeah, I think
not-
you have to.
We're not marriage experts around here, but that does seem like grounds for divorce. Also, why is our lights not on?
I noticed that too.
I just noticed that. No lights on. Casey, go ahead and show us some of the new
Yeah, the
merch that
merch.
we've got here. And I'm gonna figure
And
out.
we've got a lot of new merch, people. I mean, this merch line is fantastic. I won't lie. I love Join the Chatter. That's my favorite one. Elliot, what's your favorite one?
My favorite one is if it's the Aziz Bandango. It's the
This one right here.
AB55 one. Love
Yep.
it. Absolutely love it. I love the golf one as well.
Yep, the golf one is up here. But I mean, like, we have some awesome stuff in the store now.
The Xavier football undefeated sweatshirt's elite. That's
Yeah.
an elite sweatshirt.
Got a lot of good stuff. Check it out. We still have all of our old stuff too. If you like our Reds and our Cincy shirts for Bearcats, just check out our store. We've got a lot of awesome stuff,
50% off
and it's all 50% off
through
still.
this week. Only through this week. So the deal ends on Saturday. You get free shipping on any orders over $100. So, make sure to get your stuff and help support this company.
Well, our buddy in the chat, hashtag Team Reed.
Yeah, what about that turn of events? Mouse Cop.
That's his new handle?
Yeah.
Team Reed, Tom. I'm
You're
I'm
kidding
getting
me.
everybody on my side. Just slowly taking them away from Elliott.
That's right.
Everyone was Team Elliott for the longest time.
It's now Team
Well,
Reed.
Team Reed wants to know, where's the zebra merch?
No, well.
I don't know where the zebra merch is. I would love a hoodie with like a zebra on
Our
it.
buddy Mark Fetter said that he got the long sleeve Seabox Against the World.
Let's go, Mark.
Nice.
awesome, Mark.
Nice.
Mark's the GOAT.
That's big league.
I gotta get some for my family.
Me too.
For my family for Christmas,
Yes.
and then we'll get those things. So just running through the show, Tom. For the rest of the show, just in the second hour, we're gonna have Tommy G on 11:10. We're gonna do our power rankings. Casey, do you have your stink list today?
I do.
We got a stink list, and we also have Reed's top 5. So a fun second half of the show ahead of us.
All right, here's a question for you
Sling.
before we get to Tommy G.
Yep.
Okay. Team doesn't matter. Okay? It doesn't matter. Whoever your favorite NFL team is. Okay? And I mean, whether you're talking about Andy Reid, you're talking about Kyle Shanahan, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about Mike McCarthy, you're talking about Zach Taylor, you're talking about John Harbaugh. It doesn't matter for this question. It's a simple question. If you could hire Bill Belichick tomorrow to be your head coach, tomorrow, for your favorite team, and all he's going to do is come in and be the coach. He's not going to be the GM. He's not going to be director of football operations, all that kind of thing. He is just going to be your head coach for your favorite NFL team. Would you take him?
If I could pick up the phone and say, operator, can you get me Bill Belichick? And we could put time in a bottle and you get Belichick over here. I don't know. I think the game's past him, Tom. I think the game has passed Bill Belichick by. And there's always going to be a brighter day tomorrow, but I think those brighter days are gone for Bill Belichick.
Okay.
I mean, the sun. It's hard for the sun to shine when Mac Jones is your quarterback, and then you're going from Mac Jones to Bailey Zappi in between drives.
I mean, he picked those guys. Just let
He
you know.
did.
Right.
He did. He made a mistake. He thought Mac Jones was going to be good enough. He was not.
Made
That's
lots of
fair.
mistakes.
That's fair to you. But I'd say this. I'd say Bill Belichick has done a lot more winning in his career than losing. So I would take Bill Belichick in a heartbeat. Now, would this be a plausible scenario? No, it's not. But hypothetically, if I could get Bill Belichick, I would take Bill Belichick.
You can't let him be the GM.
Correct.
You can't let him be the
I
GM.
said that. I said that.
And let him like draft guys like Leroy Brown and big bad Jimmy Walker.
I think it's that was good. I think at some point during the winning streak or during the dynasty, right? I think Kraft and Belichick became too good of friends, and they were up there with the champagne, and they're like, "Hey, Billy, you want to do GM? Sure, it doesn't matter. We'll win another Super Bowl." And I think it kind of got lost in there, and I think they kind of got a little bit complacent, saying that they won 7 or 6 Super Bowls.
Certainly.
So it's like, what does it matter? I'll take Bill Belichick right now. No GM, but he can be my head coach. I think Bill Belichick's a damn good head coach. I don't think any player has ever said anything against Bill Belichick. So
For what it's worth, Bill Belichick did not a whole lot of winning before Mr. Tom Brady, the greatest player to ever play the sport, was there, and hasn't done a whole lot of winning since he's left.
Well, I mean, you're spot on, but it should be noted that when people say he's been bad the last 3 years, that is just simply incorrect. He's been bad this year.
Yeah.
Last year, they were a 500 team, 1 game under. The year before, Mac Jones' rookie year, they were 10-7, and they got beat in the AFC playoffs by Buffalo. So, I mean, yeah. But I'm just saying they got there.
Right, they made the playoffs.
Okay, they got there. Casey, where would you come down on this?
Absolutely not, Tom. I would not take him one bit. I'm too afraid that he's going to
So
mess
all
up.
three of you guys are telling me,
he's too
or you
afraid.
said maybe.
no, I didn't say maybe. I say I want Bill Belichick.
Wow.
Okay.
If
all right,
if there's a
I thought
hypothetical,
you were kind of waffling.
No. I said no GM. I agreed with you on the no GM part.
Okay. And you're saying, so 2 of the 3, you're saying no, Casey?
Yeah,
no
I'm too
to Bill
afraid,
Belichick?
I'm too afraid he's going to mess up our culture that we've built there.
Who's we?
The Bengals. Too afraid
all a
to
part
mess
of
up
it,
the
Tom.
culture
We're all
in
a part
that
of
that
it.
roster. You don't want to mess with the chemistry there.
Okay, let me ask you this before we get to Tommy G. Let me throw another name out at you. Okay? What about Jim Harbaugh?
I'd take him tomorrow.
Would you take Jim Harbaugh tomorrow over whoever is the head coach of your NFL team? Yay or nay? Jim Harbaugh.
I would take Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I think I'd take Jim Harbaugh.
I
He
would
has
take
won
Jim.
everywhere he's gone, Tom. He's brought an unprecedented period of success everywhere he's gone. San Diego State, Stanford, San Francisco 49ers, and now at Michigan. Jim Harbaugh is a winner. I'd like Jim Harbaugh.
The best part about Harbaugh is he doesn't have to be on the sidelines anymore.
Right,
You just
that's
put
right.
him up in the booth. You let him sit at home, do whatever he wants on Sunday afternoons. He doesn't have to be there. You just win.
Yeah, he
And
gets
just
the team
have
ready.
Sharon Moore coach the offense.
That's right.
Just get Monday through Saturday. He coaches. Then
Prep
he
him
sits
up.
Then he sits in the hotel, watches it, picks up his game check and box number 10, and goes on.
I think it's, by the way, to Casey's point, and I know it was kind of in jest, the culture thing. If you lose out here and you go 5-12, at what point does the culture matter?
Yeah, I mean, it was a joke. I would take Jim because I think he's not only won everywhere he's gone, but I like the culture that he brings, the toughness that he brings.
Yeah.
Belichick doesn't bring toughness?
He is what you want Ryan Day to be.
Does Belichick not bring toughness?
Belichick is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Tom.
What do you?
Tom, how can
Belichick's
you
not a
be
tough
how
guy.
can you be a guy that brings a culture of toughness when your team is 2-9?
Oh, my God.
I don't think
It's
that's
the first bad year the guy's ever had.
That's not
he
true
first
though.
He got
started.
fired
It's
from
not even
the
true.
Cleveland. Right?
That's
He got a
because the
Cleveland job.
franchise was moving. I mean, come on. They never even really gave him a chance there.
He
We
went-
took him to the playoffs one year. Went 11-5 his second to last year when they had boarded up and they were leaving town. I mean, Oh, but forgive me ever since. First.
Who's his quarterback?
Who's his quarterback, Tom?
First. It's 19 divisional championships.
There's a reason.
19!
There's a reason that New England wants him walking back to Georgia, Tom. It's because he can't win anymore.
His time has passed.
Yeah,
His
he's
time is
standing in the
done.
Alabama rain.
Let me ask you, how many games do you think Zach Taylor wins in New England this year?
Not many.
How many games?
4-20.
I wasn't talking about, I said any team that you might root for out there. I'm not talking about just specifically the Bengals. I was talking about anybody. If you're in Kansas City and you could have Belichick, I mean, would you make the move? Okay, most people in Kansas City would say, I wouldn't make a move for anybody, for the guy we got now, right? I think most people in San Francisco would say the same thing. I think most people in Baltimore, would say not a chance. You start getting to some other places now, it'd be hard-pressed to find me another city besides the three I just named. Maybe Philly, because they really like this guy. He's their kind of guy. But outside of that, I think you start walking around. I mean, if you were to touch base in maybe Pittsburgh, if you were to touch base in Cleveburg, how do you think they'd react to that?
Yeah. I think they'd be all over it.
I think they'd be into it.
I think they'd be all over
It'd be
it.
the biggest mistake they ever made.
Okay.
The city that smells.
Okay. Why are you always beating down Cleveland?
I'm not.
Somebody
He's not
said in the
beating it down, he's
chat.
just
Somebody
bringing
said
up
in the
points.
chat it's a waste of breath for us talking about this. Look, we're just having fun.
It was a hypothetical.
It's just having a little fun. The other one that I thought was so interesting, and again, we got Tommy G coming up here in a minute. I find this fascinating. Tom Allen gets fired as the coach of Indiana.
Yeah.
They are trying to figure out who is going to replace Tom Allen at Indiana. Now, my understanding is, I think Tom Allen's a good football coach. My understanding is at Indiana is they have not embraced, nor have, forget embraced, they have not done anything to make NIL a big part of their pitch to players coming out of high school or those that might be in the transfer portal. They're really behind everybody else. And make no mistake, there's a lot of money at Indiana now. I mean, a ton of money at Indiana. It may not be Ohio State or Michigan, but there's a lot of money at Indiana.
John Cougar still donating.
He's still there every game, among others. But the one name that they start talking about this guy's coordinator and that guy and Sharon Moore at Michigan and blah. And then all of a sudden you keep hearing about the name that is kind of floating around. He has ties to Indiana. John Gruden. Would you hire John Gruden at Indiana?
Has he ever been a college coach? I mean, yes, I would, right? Because at Indiana, you got nothing to lose, right? That's a very high
Well, you're going to get into the whole thing about, the comments and the emails he made. I mean, there's going to be some baggage now. I mean, we talked about this with Trevor Bauer.
Right.
We talked about this with hiring Thom Brennaman. I mean, you're going to have some baggage there, right? You're going to have to answer a lot of questions from some people who maybe don't want to answer that question. And you're going to have some pushback on some people. Would you hire John Gruden at Indiana?
I know Indiana's a very liberal state, but I don't think that they will hire. I don't think they'll have any problems hiring John Gruden, Tom. I don't think that state will have any problems.
Dude, that town is one of the most liberal. I know you're kidding about the state.
Well, it's a college town. That happens.
Right,
that
that's
happens
right.
in college towns.
Right.
But listen, Tom, hiring John Gruden, there might be some baggage there. Yeah, I don't know if he's ever coached at the college level. I'd have to look up his resume. But what do you got to lose if you're Indiana? You're coming off a 3-win season. Your best season in the past 10 years is you're ranked for like 2 weeks and you go 7-5. Like that's the best. But and I'm looking at his head coaching. He's never been the head coach at a college. He's only been a head coach at the NFL level. So you'd be wondering, hey, can you recruit? But like I said, they've got nothing to lose. Yeah, go get John Gruden. If he wants to coach there, then absolutely. You could have a new level of success for Indiana football that you haven't seen. And Tom Allen did a decent job for Indiana for years.
He really did.
But listen, they're coming off a 3-win season. The expectations are so low over there for Bloomington that would be a great hire for them.
He graduated high school when his father was an assistant coach at Indiana. He graduated, at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
He graduated from high school in South Bend, Indiana. Elliot, would you hire John Gruden?
I would hire him tomorrow. Yeah, I would absolutely. It's not even a thought in my mind. It would get the fan base fired up. It would be fun. And not to mention, he's a good football coach.
He's a really good football coach. It's going to be interesting because that name just keeps floating out there, and it's not like people are making it up. I mean, the people who are writing about this have sources inside that whole world with the athletic department there. I got to tell you, man. I mean. Our son goes there, and, man, you go to a football game at Indiana, and it is depressing. It's depressing how many empty seats. are at that stadium. It's unbelievable. I mean, I went this year to 2 games, and that was early where the wheels hadn't fallen off yet. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me how many students are there on the campus on a Saturday afternoon in September or October, beautiful fall day.
Just like today.
And then they're like, I'm not going over there to watch that. They got to walk, quarter of a mile, half a mile. Nah, I'm not going.
As funny as it is I've always said about college football that I'd rather be an Indiana football fan than I would be an Ohio State fan. And people always ask me why. Well, take a look at this year. Ohio State went 11-1. They were ranked number 1 in the country for many weeks, and it's a disappointing season if they don't get in the college football playoff, which it seems like they might not. I mean, the door's still open, but that doesn't seem like a fun fandom to me. And I know a bunch of Ohio State fans watch the show. That doesn't seem a whole lot of fun. If you're an Indiana football fan, you win 7 games, you beat one ranked team, you win a bowl game. It's a ballyhooed season. That's something that seems more fun to me than being an Ohio State fan. Maybe that's just my objection. But why would fans come there? There's not a whole lot to root for over there right now.
I don't know.
And there hasn't been ever.
I don't know if I agree with that mentality.
What?
I've been a UC football fan. I'm not exactly pleased when I go to the Idaho Potato Bowl. I'm not like I don't.
But if they go 9-3, that's a good UC season. Ohio State just went 11-1. We're number 1 in the country for like 3 weeks.
Sure.
And they lost their last regular season game, and the season was a miss.
I get it. It's just the college football thing. Listen, I think it would be more. I think you're right. Being in the Big Ten in general would be fun. I make fun of the Big Ten. I make fun of the SEC. I make fun of every conference. All the Power Fives. I make fun of them a little bit. The Big Ten playing in that meaningful of a conference, playing in that special of a conference would be incredible. So yeah, and being Indiana, the chance of every game being an upset almost, half the games being upsets. Yeah, that is a little bit fun.
Okay.
So you have a point. But, the Idaho Potato Bowl doesn't do anything for me. Neither does the Belk Bowl or the Hawaii Bowl.
Listen,
or the I-75 Bowl.
If Indiana goes 500, beats Purdue, and wins a bowl game, they had a great season over there.
They did.
Yep,
They had a lot of fun as a fan.
You're
as
right.
A basketball
they
or
did.
A football fan.
You're exactly right. But they need somebody there to get them to be able to legitimately compete. That's what you want. I mean, there was a stretch there near the end where they played really, really well. And I know not a lot of people out there care about Indiana football, and I get it. But then all of a sudden, the last couple of games, the wheels fell off after they had beaten Wisconsin, a couple of others, and then they get throttled by Michigan State. Golly, you get beat by that team. Phone it in. All right, our resident Browns fan, that we know. Tommy G, how are you, my man?
I'm good. It's been a minute, Tom. It's good to see you. The Browns have won a few games since we last spoke, so that's good. And FC Cincinnati's won a whole bunch of games since we last spoke, so that is also great. So it's been an exciting fall.
Dude, I got to tell you, as one play-by-play guy to another, and I told the guys in the studio before the show yesterday, your call the other night on that goal was just off the charts. I mean, look, a lot of people talk about, but no, I really mean this because, I try to tell our son who wants to be a broadcaster, look, every broadcaster is going to have their fair share of mistakes, things that you wish you'd have done a little different, whatever it might be, right? But man, when the big moment comes, the moment, you got to hit it. Good Lord willing, man. And I'm telling you, dude, that call the other night, you hit it out of the ballpark.
No, I appreciate it, and certainly that's always the fear, right? In that moment, you're going to misidentify the player, you're going to say the wrong thing, or something will change the whole dynamic of it. And it was exciting. I don't know if you saw the booth cam; it was exciting in the booth.
Yeah.
I kind of leapt into Kevin's arms there, but we have fun and. You're kind of nervous as you go through a game like this, and as time starts to wear down, you start to think if that goal goes the other way, there isn't going to be much time for FC Cincinnati to make it up. And fortunately, it went in favor of the orange and blue, and a thrilling night means there's another really exciting one, on the horizon coming up on Saturday.
But before we get to breaking down the game and the matchup against Columbus and that kind of thing, I heard Monday, that this game on Saturday night you're going to be broadcasting, and it's going to be on WLW for the first time.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that's a big deal, right? For you, for the franchise, for everybody else.
For everybody. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the big one for a reason, right? And I think all of us who've ever called a game on 700 WLW, whether that's a Reds broadcast or a Cincinnati Bearcats broadcast or this Saturday, FC Cincinnati getting the bump to move up from ESPN 1530 over to WLW is a really big deal. And a lot of folks, have 700 WLW program. A lot of folks have 1530 program too, but more folks have 700 WLW program, which means we're going to get more casual folks who tune in and hopefully stay on the broadcast. And that's really exciting, and thrilled that we could put this biggest match in club history that hopefully in a week I'll be saying it's the second biggest match in club history.
Yep.
But right now it's the biggest match in club history, and it'll be on the big one, and that's really cool.
Okay, let's talk about the game. First of all,
Yep.
Look, at the end of the day, can it get any better when you're playing in the biggest game in franchise history to be playing Columbus?
I mean, it's a great question, and it'll probably shave a few years off my life with the tension and the anxiety of the day and every shot that Columbus takes. But no, I think, I got a text yesterday from someone who covers Major League Soccer on the national spectrum, and they said this is the conference final in the East that everybody wanted. And here we go, another rivalry matchup. There have been some heated ones of late. FC Cincinnati had a thrilling 3-2 victory inside of TQL Stadium back in May. They had a tough day when they went up to Columbus in August. And it's two teams playing really good soccer and two teams that don't like each other very much. So, no, I don't think it gets any better than this. It's going to be very tense, I think, inside of the building. It adds another layer to the rivalry, but it adds another layer to the playoffs and their MLS and Apple TV. And I was kind of wondering how the assignments would be. Would the number one broadcast team, the A team, be coming to Cincinnati for the game? And the answer is yes. Jake Tiven and Taylor Twellman will have it. And for one team, it's going to be glorious. And for the losing side, it's going to be awful. Times 100 times worse than losing to anybody else in the conference final, losing to your rival. But it will be really, really intense. And I'm looking forward to the atmosphere in a big way.
All right, look, you talked about the tight game they played here, a 3-2 win by FC Cincinnati. And then, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong because you've forgotten more about it than I'll know, but that stretch in August when they lost up there, that was the only time this year where I can remember FC Cincinnati just kind of going into a little lull for a little while. Now, I don't want to use that as an excuse, but, I mean, I kind of felt a little – is that right?
Yeah, I think it's fair in some ways that the team came out of that Leagues Cup break. They had a couple weeks off. They came out of that break and certainly didn't look sharp in that game. Now, important note, in that game in Columbus, they did not have Yerson Mosquera. They did not have Matt Miazga, their top two defenders. And, of course, Matt was named Defender of the Year and MLS Best 11 and didn't play in that game. And hopefully we will see him out there on the pitch for FC Cincinnati on Saturday. But Yerson, in the middle of the three center backs, managed very, very well the other day. They started Ray Gaddis in that game at August 20th, who's a right back who played very well in the Philadelphia match, but he's not a center back. They started him in that match at center back, and Columbus is the most potent offense in the league, so it was really a tough assignment for him. So, look, I don't put a lot of credence into what happened in August. I think it's probably going to line up to be more of a one-goal match and a tight game like what we saw back in May when FC Cincinnati won 3-2, and Roman Celentano, if you remember, made an amazing save in stoppage time of the second half to keep it 3-2 to just parry the ball up and over the goal. So, if not for that, then we're probably talking about a draw in that game. So I think it's probably going to be more of that type of match, which is a one-goal match. Now, the good news here, FC Cincinnati has been really good in one-goal matches this year. 16-2 is better than anybody else in Major League Soccer in one-goal games. So they've managed those pressure-type situations very well.
Well, I mean, it's going to be off the charts. Casey, you are the guy. I mean, and we've got the guy from FC Cincinnati. Please, let me give you a chance because I know you are dialed in every game, every minute, all season long.
Well, all I was going to not really ask a question that I had, but I would want to ask you to maybe enlighten the fans about some of the players on the team. Not many of us know the roster. They're familiar with the Costa winning MVP some of those names like Yazga, they have no idea who those people are. Can you tell us some other players that we should be looking out for, maybe some goal scorers or something like that?
I don't want to, before he answers,
Yeah,
I think this is a great question because I think we've reached the point now. I think it's a really good question. We've reached the point now, Tommy, and I know you understand this, where, look, there are always people that are looking to jump on the bandwagon at the very last second, right? And like my dad was on earlier, and he's not a big soccer fan. He said, look, just because I'm not a big soccer fan doesn't mean that I'm not excited for FC Cincinnati and a chance to bring a championship to our city. And they're playing great and love the franchise and love the stadium and love what they're doing for the community and all these kinds of things. So I think you're going to have a lot of people watching and listening to this game this week where that probably holds true.
Yeah, there's no question. I got a lot of texts. My son plays travel baseball, and so there's a lot of really big baseball fans who maybe aren't really big soccer fans, and dads involved in that group. And you know what they told me? They're excited for the city, and they're excited for FC Cincinnati. And maybe they don't fully understand soccer or don't fully understand FC Cincinnati. But, I think the whole city is behind the club. And, look, the hardcores will be there. And there will be some people who maybe are going to a game for the first time because I think it's really cool that FC Cincinnati's in the conference final, and that's okay. Just be ready to come and stand and scream your brains out and wear orange and blue. Don't show up wearing any yellow or black on Saturday at TQL Stadium because probably a few folks will try to sneak in with that. So if you're going to come out, if this is your first time, make sure you have some orange and blue, in your attire. But when you look at the roster, certainly there's a lot of guys, and Brandon Vasquez has got a lot of attention. Lucho Costa's got a lot of attention. And we talked about Matt Miazga. He's a defender of the year. Roman Celentano is a consummate professional. He's a second-year player in Major League Soccer. He's taken over that goalkeeping position last season in April, and he's been even better in the playoffs. A 0.60 goals against average in the playoffs and 5 career starts in the playoffs. So he's been really, really good and fun to watch. You have a guy like Alvis Powell who stepped in and started at center back. Nick Hagelin is injured. Matt Miazga was suspended for the last game. And with Ian Murphy and Yerson Mosquera, they needed a third center back. So they started a right back in Jamaican Alvis Powell. Nobody on the team has more experience in the playoffs than Alvis Powell. He now has started, started 15 and played in 17 Major League Soccer playoff games. And he won MLS Cup with Portland. So he has that experience. And he stepped up and he looked like a veteran. He had a veteran in Ray Gaddis, a guy who sometimes was a starter this year, sometimes was a sub. Ray started a right wing back because Santi Arias wasn't available. Alvaro Barrial, a fantastic young player from Argentina. And I think a lot of people know who he is. They can find him with his platinum blonde hair over on the left side. His dad's been in town, and I love it. His dad was at training yesterday, in from Argentina, where it's probably a little warmer there right now than it is here. And his dad's out there bundled up, watching training like he's watching his 10-year-old son or something. So, a lot of great guys on this team. Ian Murphy, a quiet player who, had a tough spell in the middle of the season where in 2 consecutive games that he played in, he had back-to-back games he got ejected from. He got 2 yellows in back-to-back games. And, it really looked like, man, in his second year in Major League Soccer, has this team, or has Ian, fallen off? Has he taken a step back? And ever since then, he's answered the bell and been a regular starter and been a big part of the success. So there's a lot of guys. And these are great guys. They love the city. And they want nothing more than a week from Saturday to hoist MLS Cup at TQL Stadium around, 6:30, somewhere in there. It's wild. I was telling somebody earlier today, it's obviously the same day as the Crosstown Shootout. And I think, on FS1, I think MLS Cup leads in to the Crosstown Shootout, if I remember correctly. So big day, hopefully December 9th in the Queen City, and one involving FC Cincinnati hoisting MLS Cup for the first time.
Well, first things first, Columbus Crew on Saturday at 6 o'clock. Tommy, you'll be on the call, and we always appreciate your time and your willingness to join us. Have a great time, man. Really enjoy it because you just never know if you're going to get a chance to get back and broadcast games like this. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's certainly great advice. I certainly have enjoyed every moment of this whole season with the fantastic regular season into the playoffs, and hopefully there's 2 more, but all my focus right now is on this Battle of Ohio, the Hell's Real Derby, and, I can worry about whoever is coming to town after that. Good news is I don't have to pack a suitcase. We know it's here, but let's get Columbus first.
Amen. Have a great day, man. Thanks for your time.
All right, you too. Anytime.
All right.
Thank you, Tom.
Tommy Gelehrter, kind enough to join us. And man, I always think back to what Vin Scully had said to my dad years ago, and that's the reason I said it to Tommy's, because when my dad gets a Reds job in '74, they win the World Series in '75, win the World Series in '76, and Scully had made the comment to my dad. He says, man, like every year ain't gonna be like this now. These last two, he didn't call another World Series game until 1990, and then never called one again.
Right. So
for Tommy G. And for his running mate and for all those guys, good for them. Players the same way. You don't know if you're going to get back there. The town is really getting into this. And there's some people that'll be sarcastic and cynical. God forbid any of us would be.
No, not me.
Nope.
Are you?
I'm an FCC
Wait a minute.
fan.
I'm an FCC fan.
He's been to a game.
Well, I was getting ready to ask the question. Now that you went to the game last week, the playoff game with Casey, or you brought Casey. You were actually given tickets by
Swaggy Plague.
Swaggy Plague.
Right.
Okay, and you went to the game. Are you now all in?
I'm all in. I can't name a bunch of the players. I know Roman Celentano and I know Luciano Acosta. That's about it. Those are the only two I know. But here's the thing. We're the best team in the league, and we're going all the way. We're going all the way. We're going to beat the Crew, and then we're going to beat LAFC. That's different than the Galaxy, yeah? There's two LA teams in soccer now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're going to beat LAFC, which I believe is Will Ferrell's team. I think Will Ferrell owns that team.
He does?
Maybe. He owns one of them. I don't know. I get confused with all these. There's too many sports teams in LA. Get rid of all the teams in LA. Put them in Portland. I'm tired of the LA teams. Move them. But yeah, I'm an FCC guy now, and I'm ready to roll. My soccer grudge started. I played soccer my entire life, Tom. I played soccer for the first 10 years of my life. I was cut my freshman year of soccer. That's where my grudge comes from.
At Elder High.
At Elder High, because I was too short. He looked at me, my coach, the coach. He was later fired a year later. Coincidence, I think not. He was later fired a year later. He cut me and looked at me and said, "Elliot, you're too short. You're not going to make the team."
Too short.
Too short. I was
Can't
a
get
goalie.
the headers. Can't get. Oh,
well, I was a goalie.
Oh well, then you need some length there. You need some length.
But I had a great tryout. They all told me, "Elliot, you had a great tryout." So that's where my grudge for soccer started. I love soccer more than anything. But then I switched. I was going to ask you, Tom, when you're a broadcaster. When you start your broadcasting career, I know you've said you've done some weird sports. When you land on whatever you're going to do, so Tommy G, he is now FCC's guy. How much more of that sport do you love after you start doing that?
I just think it all depends on the people that you're around a lot. I really do. I mean, look, it's hard to broadcast, and look, I think you become a much better announcer regardless of sport if you're announcing for a bad team. Because, man, you got to really make stuff happen. I mean, if you were announcing the Reds last year, not this past season, but 2022 losing 100-plus games, 3.5 hours a night before the new rules, it's brutal. And there are a lot of nights I sat up there, and I'm just like, I can't believe I'm watching this slump. These guys don't even belong in the big leagues. I mean, God bless them for getting here. But you're watching pitchers coming out of that bullpen, or even starting the game, and you're sitting there going, "You got to be kidding me! This is like laughable." And that's the product. But but now if you're with a team like Tommy's going through right now, and they've had such an incredible regular season, I mean the greatest in the history of the MLS.
Yeah, most points, right?
I mean, it's the best ever. I mean, and when you're watching it, and the crowds, and when you go into town, the crowds are going to be big because some of them are coming to see your team play, and your guys are taking it to them, and you're winning games this way. Talked about 16 and 2 and 1 goal games, all this kind. Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden now, and you're getting all, and especially for Tommy because they're getting all these home games in the playoffs.
Right,
it's unbelievable.
It's great.
It's exciting, man.
Tom, quickly, you called college football, NFL, college basketball for a little while, Major League Baseball. Rank those 4 games as a broadcaster, those 4 sports. Which was your favorite?
Well, it's a little unfair because...
And you can throw in regional bowling as well.
Well, bowling was unbelievable because you could drink at 6 o'clock in the morning. On the west side of town, you could drink at 6 o'clock in the morning. Maybe not some of the lanes over on the north side.
Western Hills Bowl, baby.
What are the sports again? NFL,
you
basketball?
Did NFL, college football, college basketball, and Major League Baseball.
I would say probably college football, NFL, baseball, college basketball, and I loved them all. So, I mean, for even to put them 1 to 4 is kind of unfair because there would be moments in time where baseball would have been first or college basketball would have been first, depending on what you're doing, right? If you're doing a college basketball game at the Dean Dome in North Carolina and they're ranked number 1 in the country and they're playing 5th-ranked Maryland, right, at the time, well, it's pretty damn good, right? Reds are playing in 2000. I'm doing the baseball playoffs for Fox. Pretty damn good, right? College football national championship game, not bad. NFL, big game, not bad. Obviously, the enthusiasm level at the football games is when it's a good game.
Sure.
Like anything else, when it's a good game, it's off the charts. All right, we got top 5 to get to, right?
That's right.
All right, where are we starting? Do we always start with Reed Mouse? Ringo Lanes and Blue Ash. Rest in peace.
It's gone?
Gone. Gilmore Lanes.
In Fairfield. It's the best bowling lanes around.
The GOAT, as they say, the GOAT.
It is.
The GOAT.
It's the
Western
GOAT.
Bowl, I'd argue, is the GOAT.
Yeah, Western Bowl is the GOAT.
Never been
Irv Hoinke.
That's right, baby. The
I announced that with his daughter, Jennifer Hoinke.
Really?
And yes, and Dave Newrath. That was quite a trio in the booth. That was
Yes.
good. That was a good broadcast team, I got to tell you.
That must have been great.
It was phenomenal.
Tom, there was a time, and Sean just put this in the chat. It reminds me, we were Fairfield High School bowling team asked Chatterbox to stream their matches, and I was pegged to broadcast by myself, knowing nothing about bowling. It'd be about 3 hours of me just going, let's go over to lane number 4. And there's a Brooklyn strike. Let's go over to lane number 6. Split there.
See, now that's tough because you're calling multiple matches going on.
I have no clue what's going on, and I'm just trying to peer through these screens to see what even the score is. Can't even read them because they're so far away. It was a tough time. But let's get into the top 5. We'll start with the NFL.
All right, little movement here.
Little
bit.
I think my top 5 is going to be pretty similar to what I had it a couple weeks ago. We'll go ahead and throw that up there. This is my top 5. I think the Eagles are still the number 1 team. I think that they are not as good as they were last year, as are the Chiefs aren't as good as they were last year, but I still believe that they are the 2 best teams in the National Football League. I pulled out this stat yesterday. The Eagles, there's been 75 teams since the NFL-AFL merger to win 10 of their first 11 games. The Eagles have the second worst point differential. That doesn't mean anything because they're still 10-1. I put the Kansas City Chiefs ahead of the Baltimore Ravens for one reason and one reason only, and that's their quarterback. Sorry, I got those records messed up. Thank you. I knew I was going to mess something up. But the Baltimore Ravens are just playing fantastic football. You have to put them at number 3. And then I think everyone's top 4 should include the San Francisco 49ers because when they are on, they look almost unstoppable,
Yep,
Tom.
they do.
Got a great coach. They got a great defense, got a great offense. Brock Purdy looks fantastic at times. The question is who's the 5th team? Is it the Dallas Cowboys? Is it the Detroit Lions?
Yep.
Is it the Miami Dolphins? No, none of those teams. I like the Jags. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. I'm a believer in Trevor Lawrence. I know the stats don't show how fantastic he's been this year, but he's leading the Jacksonville Jaguars to an 8-3 season. They are very much in the thick of things to win the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Yep.
But they're going to run into the buzzsaw that is Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals next Monday, so maybe they'll drop off after that one. But that's my top 5, Tom.
Okay.
Elliot's top 5. This is a good one. Again, mine's not going to differ too much from Reed's, but
Sure it won't.
Well, the last place spot certainly will a little bit. Number 1, Eagles. Reed said it. They're the best team. They're the best team in the NFL. Jalen Hurts is putting up an MVP type season. Their defense is elite. That whole team's really good. Jake Elliott, GOAT, former Bengal Jake Elliott. I think the Eagles are going to play for a Super Bowl. I don't think they'll win it, but I think they will play for it. Up next, the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are damn good. If you have Patrick Mahomes, you have everything. You have everything you need. They do lead the league in dropped passes, which might come down to bite them in the ass at some point later on. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. I do think the Chiefs are damn good. At this point, they're still my most feared team. I'll put them at 2. Ravens at 3. I told Reed this yesterday. I think the Ravens might win a Super Bowl. If Lamar Jackson can be healthy, can stay healthy, if that defense can get some guys back, stay healthy, If the Ravens, and again, this is a big if, I think the Ravens can beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, go to a Super Bowl, and play it tough with the Eagles. 49ers are good. They're going to play in the NFC Championship game against the Eagles. And then we have the Patriots with Tom Brady. If the Patriots had Tom Brady, if they did, this team would go to the playoffs and then they'd win the Super Bowl.
There you go.
Patriots with Tom Brady at 5.
I think you might be onto something there.
I think I am, too.
I think they made that a regular occurrence for a while.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. All right, my top 5, really not much different than these guys, although after the Eagles, and I got to be honest with you, the only reason I put the Eagles ahead of the Ravens is because they've lost one game. I think if the Ravens played the Eagles in the Super Bowl tomorrow, I think the Ravens would beat them.
Really?
I do. I think Baltimore's really good. 7th-ranked offense, 2nd-ranked defense. They got a nice team. They got a great field goal kicker, as does Philadelphia, and a lot of times those games come down to the field goal kickers. And all 3 of those top teams have good field goal kickers. Chiefs at number 3. I don't think the Chiefs are what they were last year. Clearly better on on defense, but I'm not sold on. They're having a hard time scoring, is the bottom line. We'll see how it plays out. It's Patrick Mahomes. Niners, man, when they're on, they can look like the best team that's ever stepped on a field. But when they're not, they're not. Jags, reluctantly, I put them 5th. I don't think anybody's even close after the top 4.
You really don't think like the Dallas Cowboys or the Detroit Lions or none of those are anywhere?
I agree with Tom.
Really?
I think those 4 teams are so much better than everybody. Now, does that mean they can't lose a game? Of course it doesn't mean they can't, because they all have lost games.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if San Francisco played Dallas, which they did this year and beat them like 1,000-3, right? If they played 10 times, there's no doubt in my mind San Francisco would win 8 of those games. And if Baltimore played Detroit 10 times, which they did play them in Baltimore and massacred them in Baltimore,
right.
I think if they played 10 times, I think the Ravens would win 9. So I don't think and that would hold true to any of those teams I just put up there. Philadelphia playing them, and who's the one I left out? And Kansas City playing. I think that those 4 teams are far better than anybody else in the league.
Do you think the Philadelphia Eagles, if you were a betting man, would you put money on the Philadelphia Eagles being the first team to win 16 games in a season since the undefeated Patriots?
No, because I think they'll start to shut it down once we get late.
Okay.
They wrap up the division number 1 overall seed. They're a ways away from doing that.
Yeah.
We got 6 games left. They got a 2-game lead on it now with San Francisco. But I think that they'll start to shut some guys down.
Want to hear an unbelievable stat about the starting quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens? Lamar Jackson's record as a starter, 54-19.
That's not bad.
That's pretty impressive. All right, we'll switch over to college. Let's switch over to college.
All right, let's go college football.
You come over to this side of the room. For our esteemed college takes. So this is my top 5 in college. Coming in at number 1 is the best team in the land. It is the Blue. Michigan Wolverines.
Okay.
12-0.
I can understand it.
Georgia Bulldogs, they've stood every test, and they've won pretty handily. Coming in at number 3, I truly believe that the Alabama Crimson Tide are the 3rd best team in the country, Tom.
So they just beat a team on a Hail Mary, basically.
Right.
A team that the week before played a 1AA team. They were a 30-point favorite and lost by 28 in Auburn. Yeah. And Alabama had to go to the last miracle play of the game to beat them.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what they say, iron sharpens iron, and
That's
that was
right.
the Iron Bowl. So it was Alabama winning on the final
That's pretty
play.
good. That's good.
Coming in at number 4 is Oregon. Besides their one last-second loss to Washington, they've pretty much mollywopped every single team that they've played. So that's why I've got Oregon in at number 4, the Huskies coming in at number 5, and Washington, because they did beat Oregon. And I know you're saying, like, wait, Washington has beaten Oregon. What does it translate? I'm using my eyes. And if you're using your eyes, you can see that one team is noticeably off that list. And the reason they're off that list is because they lost a rivalry game last Saturday. That is the Louisville Cardinals. That's right. The team I was talking about.
That was very good.
Okay, very good.
All right, mine, again, it's not going to differ too much from that. I'd say it's pretty similar. My top 5 in college. Number 1, we have Georgia. They're the best team in the nation by far. They're going to go to another national championship. They're not going to lose another game, and they're going to win again. Number 2, we have Florida State. Listen, everybody's going to make fun of Florida State because they don't have a quote-unquote quarterback. Their guy got hurt. Listen, they're fine. They're undefeated. It's going to be a tough one with Scott Satterfield's boys in Louisville. It's going to be a tough one, but they're going to fight through it. They're going to get to the college football playoff, and they are going to go all the way. They're going to play Georgia in the national championship game, and they'll lose. Michigan's number 3. Michigan had their biggest win of this season. I thought they played great. Listen, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. And at the end of the day, they cheat harder than everybody. They don't have their coach.
They tried the hardest.
They tried the hardest. They don't have their coach on the sideline. Didn't matter. They took care of Ohio State easily. Easily, it was never a doubt. Number 4, we have FC Cincinnati.
That's a football team.
That's a football team, correct? FC Cincinnati.
That's right.
They're the soccer champions of the world. And listen, if FCC can get it right against Columbus Crew, I think they're going to be playing for the college football playoff. I think there's no doubt about it. I think they're a top 4 football team in the nation. Number 5, we have Toledo. As everybody knows, Toledo. Toledo is
best team in Ohio.
They're the best team in Ohio.
No doubt.
They play in the MAC, which is the best football conference, as Tom likes to say over and over again. It's far better than the Big Ten.
Yep.
Far better than the SEC.
Yep.
Toledo's 11-1. They're taking on Miami in Detroit, as they always play that game. It's going to be a great game. Winner of that game goes straight to the national championship. Toledo, number 5.
Toledo's got a heck of a team, man.
It's a shame I didn't have a top 25 on here because Ohio State would have been 26.
Yeah. Tell you what, though, Miami of Ohio is going to come to play in that game now.
Yeah, they will.
I think
they're going to show up.
I think
they'll have people watching them this time. It's at a neutral game, neutral site.
Ford Field.
Ford Field.
At least that's where it's been in the past. I assume that's where it is this year, the MAC championship game. That's big. Good luck to Coach Martin and the Red Hawks. Maybe we got to try to run him down. When is that game?
This Saturday.
It is Saturday?
I assume. Conference championships are played on
Well,
Saturday.
no. There are a lot of them being played on Friday.
Oh,
the Oregon game, I think, is on Friday.
Yep.
Maybe we'll track him down.
Okay, see if we can run him down. Okay, here's mine. I got Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Washington, Florida State. They're all undefeated. They belong to be there. Ohio State is 10-0. I wish that was true.
Gosh darn it. I knew I'd get something.
I wish that was true.
We'll do it live.
I have Ohio State ahead of Oregon. I mean, you look at all of the metrics. You look at whatever you want. Now, you can say eyeball test, in the whole 9 yards as far as them blowing people out of the gym. And they have. But Ohio State, in the overwhelming majority of their games, has blown people out of the gym. Oregon's schedule 62nd in the country. Ohio State's is 5th. I mean, Ohio State lost to the number 2 team in the country on the road. Washington, they're undefeated, so you got to give it up to them. Look at that defense. 84th ranked defense in the country. 84th. Oregon lost to them. They'll play them again this weekend. Chance to avenge a loss. And really, it doesn't matter for the playoff because the winner of Washington and Oregon is getting in. Based on Oregon after the college football playoff rankings last night being at number 5 ahead of Ohio State. Plus, they're playing for a chance to be their conference champion, playing in a championship game. Same old's true for Texas. If you're an Ohio State fan, doesn't matter who wins a Washington-Oregon game. It's irrelevant because Ohio State would get in ahead of a 2-loss Oregon team or a 1-loss Washington team. But you got to hope for Florida State to lose. You got to hope for Texas to lose. That's what you got to hope for. Those guys got to get beat. Doesn't matter Oregon, Washington, and you're assuming, and I'm assuming, you need Georgia to win and obviously Michigan to win. So there we have it. All right, do we have a stink list, Casey?
We do.
All right, here we go. I want to see where this is going.
Yeah, this week, this stink list is, it's a doozy, all right. It's a doozy. It's a lot of stinky teams now in the NFL because we are almost done with the NFL. We think we only have, 6, 7 games left? We're past the halfway point. So we've really started to figure out the picture of what teams are and what they're not. And let's just start off with wrong one. Let's start with nauseating.
Oh boy, nauseating.
These teams here, they're technically in the hunt and or have a little bit of life, probably aren't going to make it to the playoffs, but these teams, they're not making it.
Green Bay, I wouldn't count them out yet.
Like I said, they have a little bit of life. They're probably like a game back or two from the wild card hunt. They have a little life, but
the Rams sneak in.
But they may sneak in, but these teams aren't going any further than the wild card round. Vikings leading that charge. Josh Dobbs throwing 4 interceptions in one game. I think that magic is over.
Okay.
Then we have the teams that have a little stench on them. Josh Allen can't win a meaningful game to save his life still. We've known that for now, 5-6 weeks. Seattle, I think, Tom, you're right.
They're done.
They're going to make it into the playoffs, but they're not the top echelon of the NFC, which is really hard to beat. The Eagles, 49ers, Dallas, those teams. Lions, I think they would probably beat them again if they went head-to-head. They got the best of them this last time, but 9 times out of 10, I think the Lions win that matchup. Colts, they're feisty. Broncos, feisty. Falcons currently lead their division, but that's not saying much when you're 5-6. So
well, Broncos are rolling. I'm surprised you've got them on that list.
Yeah, and then
5 in a row.
They're rolling.
5 in a row.
We got
They drilled some good teams now. Denver.
Yeah.
They beat
Kansas City. They beat
and
Cleveland.
Buffalo. Beat Buffalo.
Yeah.
Buffalo.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
I'm not ready to.
Goodness gracious. You're going to put the stinking Steelers ahead of them?
They just keep winning, Tom.
Well, they do.
I mean, what can I say? The Steelers just keep winning. Doesn't matter what type of game it is. They will just always find ways to win. And the Jags, I still find them a little fraudy. I know they're 8-3. I still call them the worst version of the Bengals, or what we thought the Bengals were supposed to be. I'm interested to see how they play against the Bengals. I might change my mind if they blow out the Bengals.
This is the first time you haven't put who the Bengals play at the top of your stink list.
I know. I think that has been put to bed.
Retired that shtick?
I've retired that shtick.
Okay,
right.
Good.
Dallas, Lions, Miami, Houston. I think all those teams.
Dallas, Lions, Miami, Houston.
Yeah, I think all those teams.
So Houston is higher than Jacksonville, even though Jacksonville has a 2-game lead over them in their division and just beat them last weekend.
Correct.
Please explain.
Houston has C.J. Stroud and a possible MVP candidate, and they're one doink away from tying that game. And in all honesty, they had all the momentum. They were going to win that game hands down. Jags got away with a sneaky win, in my opinion. I think Houston's a better team. I think when they play again, which they will, they probably will play in the playoffs. Jags are going to lose.
Play in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think Houston's a lock for a wild card spot.
Okay. Would you rather have Trevor Lawrence or C.J. Stroud right now?
C.J. Stroud.
Yep.
I'd rather have Trevor Lawrence.
Okay. Hey, you know what? You can't argue with that.
Yeah.
You can't argue.
And then Dolphins, Lions, Cowboys. All these teams are like right on that borderline of top echelon teams, but they all have like some major flaw or some sort of weakness that we all just hold them back. Miami can't beat a high prolific team. The Lions, sometimes they go to sleep and they just lose games for no reason. Dallas has Dak Prescott, so that's why they're in odorless. They're not stinky, but
just odorless.
They're just odorless.
Okay, well, nothing wrong with being odorless.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not, but you'd rather be fresh.
Yeah, you'd rather be fresh. Ravens, Chiefs, the 2 best teams in the AFC right now. I have the Ravens ahead of the Chiefs. I think, like you said, Tom, if the Ravens were to play any of the teams in the AFC, I think they're going to win. So they're the top team in the AFC for me. And then the top 2 teams in the NFC. Exquisite.
Like the scent of a perfect candle or the perfect woman, your wife. The
That's
smell.
right.
Right.
These 2 are the Super Bowl favorites.
Right.
I don't care that the 49ers had a skid. That roster, ever since they traded for Chase Young, has dominated. So those 2 teams are probably going to face each other at some point. Actually, they play each other this week. So we'll know who the best team in the NFL is shortly, and it's going to be one of those 2 teams.
Okay.
So the final piece, we are missing one row.
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
the putrid row. And I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a lot of teams missing. That's because the putrid list has grown significantly since we last had the stink list. Chargers, they're done. I don't care what the record says. They're done.
Do you win?
Head coach is going to get fired.
Yep.
Yeah, they're miserable. Browns, I think they're done too. I think the Browns, without Deshaun Watson, I think. They've been on the bottom of this list probably every single week except for one. Actually, they have been pretty much every single week except for one. But they just lost 29-12 against Denver, and that's very alarming. They just had a bunch of injuries as well. I love their defense when they're healthy, but when they're not all healthy, and Myles Garrett had to get an MRI, right?
Yep.
It's not looking good. Not looking good. Bengals, we all unfortunately know where the Bengals are at. They can only have 200 yards of offense with a backup quarterback. That's not going to get it done in any circumstance. They might have a worse offense than the Jets at this current particular moment. That's why the Jets are ahead of the Bengals. And then we all know about the rest of these teams behind them. Panthers, the worst record in the league. Their owner just coincidentally gave away their draft plans, what they wanted to do, which was trade to the number 2 spot and draft C.J. Stroud.
A lot of confidence in the starter quarterback.
He had a lot of confidence, in Bryce Young. Cardinals, their record also very stinky. They can't win with Kyler Murray either. Patriots, I'm giving them a slight edge because of Bill Belichick, but I think they could probably lose to the Cardinals or the Panthers. And they lost to the Giants, and I think Washington, they have an explosive enough offense that they could probably get over the hump over those other 4 teams, so that's why they're there. And
latest update, that's a stink list.
That is the stink list for this week.
Very, very nice. By the way, Myles Garrett, they're saying he actually does have some structural damage. This is Mary Kay Cabot, who is as good a beat writer as there is on the planet in football, in his left shoulder. But he's already said, I'm playing. So it doesn't matter. I'm in.
Well, there you go.
How about that?
All right.
I feel it, real quick, I was going to say, it feels like the NFL is more top heavy this year than ever.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true because I feel like the AFC has a lot of very, very good teams. Certainly in the NFC, right? Certainly in the NFC, there's 4 teams and the rest are just the other 12 teams aren't very good. But in the AFC, I can see a bunch of. I know the Ravens and the Chiefs look the best, but
are you saying like the Colts and the Broncos are like they could like go to the AFC Championship game? Because I think even the bottom tier of the AFC wild card, so if the 5, 6, 7, I still think those teams just aren't up to the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Jags. I think there's
Dolphins.
3 Dolphins, I guess. Okay, so Dolphins, Jags, Chiefs.
Do you want to play the Bills? Even the Bills are 500. Do you want to play the Bills in the postseason?
I guess not. But at the same time, they haven't been very good, so maybe.
I would rather, to your point, play the Colts and the Texans than I would rather play the Bills. But I don't share that sentiment with you. I'll tell you that.
Okay. All right.
Fair enough. Tom, on today's show, I think I sprinkled in about 8 to 9 different Jim Croce songs.
Love Jim Croce.
Throughout our just conversation.
Time in a bottle, you had that.
I threw that one.
Bad Leroy Brown.
I said Leroy Brown.
You can't mess around with Jim.
I said box number 10.
Yep.
I said there's going to be a change tomorrow. I did not get I've Got a Name in, which is just a major miss.
It's hard to believe you did that.
That's a major miss.
I got a name for you. You could have just laid that on there.
Right. Yeah. I said Operator. I think that's it. I think that's
that was good. That was a good performance by Reed.
Walking back to Georgia and Alabama rain.
That was
we're also
very nice.
And Blackmore says in the chat that you have no bits. That was a pretty big one there.
Chi-Town Real Estate with a $5 super chat says show idea. A show where Trace debates would be gold. We can discuss royalties later.
Yes.
Yeah, let's
Where is Trace today? What's the deal?
He's on the other side. He's doing business things.
Okay.
Justin Edgel, $2 super chat. Ohio State is a top 4 team. Not on me or Elliot's list, so I don't know where you're getting that information.
Yeah,
Did he watch our list?
I don't think he saw it because 2 out of the 3 that gave lists for the college football top 4, 2 of us didn't have it, so that's a majority.
All right, we got box lunch coming up after that. Elliot is hosting.
That's right.
But we're going to end this show with a cherry on top, which is my top 5.
Okay, but hang on one second. Do we have, before we get to the cherry on top, your top 5, do we have a mailbag today?
I have a mailbag from yesterday I didn't get to. Would you want to use yesterday's mailbag? I didn't read I think it still plays.
Okay, well, let's get that in there, and then we'll go to our cherry on top and finish it off. Okay. Do we have the here we go.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. I wonder who it's from.
Okay, it's everybody's favorite segment. Let me open my little letter. Hold on. Again, this is yesterday's letter.
Okay.
I didn't open the mailbox today, but yesterday's letter is certainly here.
Okay.
Yesterday's mailbag comes from Sweet Little Paul. Sweet Little Paul from Mrs. Frischner's class.
Oh.
Paul and his friends all gathered together a couple nights ago for Xavier's game against Oakland. His mom made pizza rolls, and they were all in their pajamas. His dad put $25,000 on Xavier's point spread, and they were going to put the winnings on the naming rights to the Blue Blob. They were going to change the name. Unfortunately, it didn't fall their way, and Xavier suffered a quadrant 3 loss to a team 99% of the country couldn't locate. Sweet Little Paul wants to know, will Xavier ever win the big one?
Might this year.
Might this year.
What's the big one? Is it the Crosstown Shootout? Because they've won a lot of those.
No, that's not the big
They've
one.
won a lot of those.
I guess I don't know what the big one would be. I guess.
Well, they got a big one. Their next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's certainly a big
Houston
one.
versus Xavier. Who are you taking in that one, Tom?
I tell you what, man. That Kelvin Sampson. There aren't 2 or 3 guys in the country better than that dude.
Xavier has fallen off the wagon ever since Sean Miller declined to come on the show.
Listen, I don't like to ever bring that up. I don't know how it ever gets brought up. I don't know why we go down that road again and again and again. Little Paul, thank you. I'm sorry. Your father lost $25,000 on the X-Men the other night. All right, are we ready for the chariot? Thank you for that, Elliot.
Yes. All right, run the cherry on top so we can pay our sponsor.
This is another nice song, right? Just let it breathe a little.
That song was written by anyone? The King of Ragtime? Scott Joplin.
Scott Joplin.
That's right. How about that, Tom? All right, so this weekend, and we talked about the Cincinnati Reds a lot on today's show, but this weekend is RedsFest.
Yes.
And as all Reds fans know, it's a fantastic event, plenty of stuff to do. So on today's Reed's Top 5, I have ranked the top 5 things you can do at RedsFest this weekend.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear this because I've been to a lot of them.
Yeah.
So have I.
Are you guys going?
No.
I actually did go to a couple RedsFests when I was a kid. There's pictures of me in a Red. There's a picture of me somewhere in my house of me wearing a Reds jersey, photo-opt next to former Red Jared Burton and former Red.
Great dude, Jared Burton.
David Ross.
He still comes to town a lot, Jared Burton.
Yeah.
He lived up Mount Adams forever. He still got a house
Really?
up there.
Really?
I mean, you talk about an awesome dude. He is a great dude. All right, go ahead.
All right, so coming in at number 5, I just mentioned it. It's the photo ops with players. You can get there, you stand in line, and then you get to meet a couple players, get to take a picture with them. Certainly when I was a kid, that was my favorite things to do at RedsFest when my dad would drag me there. And like I said, there's a couple of pictures with me and Jared Burton and David Ross. So that's coming in number 5. Certainly a highlight for a lot of people, but number 5 on today's list, photo ops with players. Now, if you don't want to photo op with a player, what you can do is you can meet some of your favorite content creators. One of them being Nick Kirby's going to be there.
Hey!
Nick Kirby's going to be there. So you can meet Chatterbox Reds' very own Nick Kirby. He's going to be there. He's very friendly, very easy to come up to him and say hi. So if you're at RedsFest, you see Nick, just give him a hi, give him a wave. So that's coming in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, so a lot of these events, they like to have activations, right? They like to have ways to kind of engage fans. One way, they looked at their roster and they said, what can we do with our players to kind of engage fans? Well, they looked at one of the traits of their players, and you can get a personal pep talk from Jonathan India, because that's what he does best, Tom. It's not play second base. It's not hit. He is a pep talker. He gets in that locker room. He just gets pep it all up. They give him pom-poms and a cheerleading skirt, and that's what Jonathan India does. That's what he's going to do for this team going forward.
You are brutal.
You can get a pep talk from Jonathan India.
That is brutal.
That was a good one.
That's brutal.
That was one of your better ones.
That's brutal.
Well, here's the thing is you're going to be there for a long time. They like to serve you food, right?
Right. Good food.
Good food. Cincinnati's known for their food. One of the things they're really highlighting is in the cheese section, you can get Ellie De La Cruz's Swiss cheese bat. That's why he's striking out all the time. There's so many holes in that bat. So you can get some Swiss cheese. That's the food that they're having. You can get a bat made out of Swiss cheese that Ellie is going to use this season. He certainly used it last year. That's why he struck out so much. That's coming in at number 2.
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
But coming in at number one, this is the number 1 fan activation that they have for Reds fans this weekend. What I want you to do if you're going to go to RedsFest is I want you to grab something from your house, something of a little bit of value, not a whole lot of value. Then you take it down to RedsFest, and you stand toe-to-toe with Nick Kroll, and he trades for you. You can get Krolled yourself. You show up there, maybe you bring a personalized memorabilia, and next thing you know, you're trying to trade like an old rookie card of King Griffey Jr. Next thing you know, Nick Kroll owns your house, he owns your car, he takes your wife from you. You can get Krolled face-to-face with Nick Kroll. So that's the number 1 fan activation at RedsFest this weekend. You can get Krolled, Tom.
I got to tell you what, that's a big league list.
That was a good one.
That is a big league list because you guys are all over this get Krolled thing.
Get Krolled.
Get Krolled.
Reed, that was your best list. That was the best list you've ever done. That was really good.
It was fantastic.
That was really good.
It was fantastic. So it's your day to host on that note.
No.
Or no, you were Monday.
I'm Monday.
He
Correct.
is Wednesday, and Casey's Friday.
That's right.
Got to make sure I got that right. Okay. All right, so Bucks lunch. Anything else coming up later today, tonight? You got your show with
Mac and JT.
Mac and JT.
And that is at what time?
That's at 7:30.
7:30. So, again, programming notes. We got box lunch coming up now, 7:30 tonight. Casey and our buddy Jacob Tissett, who, I mean, you talk about a big week for Jacob now.
Big week.
I mean, he's packing up everything, making his way to Atlanta.
That's right.
For a big league game. Alabama Crimson Tide against Georgia. The Dogs. Better believe it. All right, we thank all of you, gentlemen. Thank all of you. Box lunch coming up right now. Here we go.
I must admit, I didn't think much of this show the first time I laid eyes on it. Seemed like a bunch of stiffs wasting nice
Worst
microphones.
trade of all time.